I'm Carla D. Tillery, and welcome to the Chair Chronicles. I'm your life coach and your favorite auntie. You know, that aunt that is not afraid to tell you the truth and help you see things just a little clearer, and you love her advice. Well, as a certified life coach with nearly 2 decades of experience, I am passionate about helping you find your happiness. So pull up a chair and let's have a talk. Hey, LA.
Hey, how are you?
I'm good.
Good.
We are going to talk about relationships today.
My favorite.
Yes. And so one of the questions that I get a lot is, how do you know if he or she is your soulmate? Have you ever had to ask yourself that question? Been in a dating situation, or perhaps you're even married now and you're still wondering whether you married your soulmate? Well, we're going to dig into that. So let's first kind of try to do a little bit of a background and try to understand, what does all of this mean about soulmate? Have you ever met your soulmate?
Well, I thought I did, but obviously I'm single, so he wasn't it.
That's okay. That's okay, because that happens, right?
Yes.
Sometimes you start to date someone, you get involved, and you think that person is your soulmate because things were going along pretty well, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And so sometimes you don't really know in the beginning of a relationship, but it takes really time to kind of really explore whether that person really is divinely connected to you.
Right.
And that's what I believe a soulmate is. Somebody that you're really divinely connected to, mind, body, soul, and spirit. Yeah. And so let's kind of figure out, what does all of that mean? Because it's hard to define that.
It really is. Help me out.
We're going to help you out, and we're going to help everybody else out too.
Absolutely.
And I think that one of the things is really building a good friendship. I think that is like the first kind of criteria is to really establish friendship. And that friendship means like sharing common interests, enjoying spending time together, enjoy hearing from each other, enjoy doing things together. And I know that opposites attract.
Yeah, so I've been told.
Opposites attract. And so there will be some differences.
Right.
And I don't think you need to rule out that person might not be the potential for your soulmate.
True.
If there's some differences, right? Because everybody's not going to be exactly alike, and you want to have some own individuality as well.
Absolutely.
Some uniqueness to yourself. Yeah. So friendship is important, and I think we need to make sure when you're in a relationship that you lay down that baseline of being friends, establishing yourself as friends.
Yeah, and I think that's the foundation, because when you have, difficulties or you're sharing in joys, you want someone that's your friend. A true friend. I believe it's beyond the butterflies and, oh, he's cute and, oh, she's cute. You know, it's that thing that really holds you together.
Right. Yeah. Because physical attraction is important.
Right.
You should be looking for someone, of course, that you're attracted to.
Right.
But after the attraction, and after you kind of get through the fact that he looks good, she looks good, and we're drawn to each other physically, what's next? And friendship should be next.
It absolutely
developing
should be next.
Sort of that kind of relationship that you're just enjoying each other's company. You want to get to know each other a little bit better, and you really want to spend a lot of time together.
That person really gets you.
Get you, yeah.
They get you.
And asking like those questions to explore, like, who are you?
Right.
What do you like? What do you don't like? What kinds of things do you enjoy? Yeah. And usually it starts off very light, like, music and, what's your favorite artist and that kind of thing. Yeah. It might be, what's your favorite pastime, or how do you like to spend your vacation?
Right.
So, those are the types of things that you explore very early on in a relationship.
Right. I believe so.
So, but that doesn't, just because you're good friends still doesn't mean that's your soulmate, right? You can still be good friends, right? But that doesn't mean that you're divinely connected. And we're talking a little bit more like in an intimate way of developing, a partnership with that person,
right?
So good friends, great. So that's a check
mark.
All right.
Yes.
So one of the other things is mutual respect.
Yeah.
I cannot tell you how many times, though, I've sat with some of my friends and some of my clients, and when talking about mutual respect, we say it, but there's a different expression of it.
Right.
So how does respect look like to you? How do you envision that? How do you want to experience it?
Well, for myself, it has to be that you truly allow me to be my authentic self, that you accept me for who I am, flaws and all. I mean, no one comes into a relationship perfect.
Right.
And I think we have to throw that myth out the door. And what does it take for me to look at you and know that I can be vulnerable, that you will protect my heart? How do you treat me? How do you treat others? I really believe that it's not just so much about myself, but as I watch how you treat and talk about others, I think if you have a mutual respect for people and their ideas, and it might not have to be the same as yours, then I believe that you'll know how to treat me as well.
Right.
Yeah.
So it sounds like you described a lot of behaviors that relate to their language to you, and the word choice that they use that might indicate that mutual respect.
Yes.
And also the allowance of some flaws.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, you want to show up, you
perfect.
want to be vulnerable,
Right.
but you don't want somebody who's going to leave the minute you have a moment.
Absolutely.
And you're not at your best self.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
Please don't leave me when I'm
Don't
having
do
a
that.
moment.
Don't do that. Give me
Oh
a
my
moment.
goodness. Yeah, give us
Give
a
us a
break.
moment.
And it works both ways, right? I
Right.
call it like a grace period.
Yeah.
I think everybody deserves a little bit of grace. You know, just a little bit of time to say, you know what, maybe you need to cool down. Maybe this wasn't your best day because maybe you had other things in your mind. So being snappy, you know, every now and then.
Right.
I mean, there's got to be some allowance to kind of just not be at your best self, I think.
Right. Right.
And not have them walk out the door.
Exactly. And they know that the love is still there, the friendship is still there. You're just, like you said, you're having a moment.
Right. And mutual respect. So that's, you know, some really good ways, and that's your personal experience. But there are other people where mutual respect looks very different.
Right.
You know, for others, it's not being able to kind of be authentic and vulnerable. For others, it's what you do for me. Because perhaps, you know, you've grown up with this expectation that love and the expression of love comes in the form of gifts.
Right.
There are some parents who embed that in their kind of family upbringing, where I show respect to you, or that parent shows respect to you by the gifts they bring. Maybe because they're not there all the time. Maybe because they're working parents, or maybe because they have other things going on. So they're not spending time with you.
Right.
And so what they do is they come in on those kind of occasions, birthdays, or just because.
Right.
And they're like, here, little Johnny, here's your gift.
Exactly.
I ain't grow up with that, by the way.
Me neither. Not at all.
No, we would show mutual respect by just behaving right.
Exactly. But do you think that that's what they call those love languages?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
They're different love languages, and they're absolutely fine to have a different love language.
Right.
The key, though, to really finding your soulmate and identifying that is understanding that love language for the other person.
Right.
Not your love language, right?
Right.
So you have to be able to identify your partner's love language,
Right.
and be able to talk to them in that language. And then in return, your partner will utilize the language that you like to receive love in.
There goes communication.
That's the key to communication, is not because I think I need to hear it this way. This is how I like it.
Right.
So I'm expecting my partner to like to receive it this way. That's
Right.
not how it works.
Right.
It's understanding how your partner wants to receive it, and then giving it to them that way.
Right.
So yeah,
Yeah.
mutual respect is key.
Yeah.
Absolutely key.
Absolutely.
Gotta have it. Another thing is like the same idea about the future. Like, what do you envision your future to be?
Right.
And does your partner share that vision? Is there a we in that vision?
Right.
Right.
Exactly.
Because if your partner is not even thinking about long-term relationship,
Right.
and you want one, then maybe there's a little bit of a disconnect.
Right.
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 And I know that there are couples where you've got one individual and they're dating, and someone is really dating with the intent of a long-term relationship.
Right.
But the other person is just dating. They just want to have fun. They just want to connect with different people.
Right.
And so that's a huge disconnect right there.
Yes. And you have to be willing to be honest. I think, you know, of course, everybody wants to put their best foot forward because we have this vision of what we want and we see it in this person. But you have to be honest, and then also be ready for that honest answer, and it may not be what you want to hear.
But
you want to be open to have a choice, and you also want that other person to have a choice as well. Like you said, it may not vibe.
Right. And that's hard because, especially I think for females, I think we really have a hard time hearing and acknowledging what we heard. I think we dismiss things very quickly.
Absolutely.
Because it's not what we wanted to hear, right? So we don't acknowledge that, he just said that he just wanted to get to know me and just chill.
Right.
He didn't mention long term. He didn't mention marriage.
Yeah, but what we hear is, let me show him what he'll be missing if he does not. So instead of hearing it and believing it, we feel like we can change that person's idea because they haven't thought about it this way.
Right. So right then, huge disconnect, and that definitely to me is a flag for not being your soulmate.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So another thing is challenging each other, which is so
challenging
tough.
In what way? When you're playing spades or you're partnered or not getting along,
Right. So challenging each other is really about pulling the best out of your partner. Right. So you want to challenge them in areas where they could potentially grow. Where are those growth areas?
Right.
One quick example, right? Suppose your partner is afraid of flying, but you like to travel.
Right.
Well, that could be an issue if you want to travel out of the country, right? Because you need to take a flight or a boat or something. Right. So you can kind of encourage and pull out different strategies that you've adopted so that you can convince your partner to take a flight.
Right.
And it and I've seen that happen in some couples, and then the other person is like, wow, I never saw myself flying, and now here I am, and we're off onto the Caribbean, or we're on our way to Europe.
Right.
And so there's ways to kind of pull out the best in a person and improve their quality of life.
Absolutely.
I mean, that's just one example.
Yeah.
And there are many other situations where I think your soulmate will push you to be your best self.
Absolutely. And it's not about browbeating. It's not about, saying that, what you're doing or how you're living or how you're being in this world. There's anything wrong with that. But you want that. You want that person that's your cheerleader. Right. And also someone that's willing to be honest with you and say, listen, I'm going to hold your hand and we're going to do this together. But I know you can do it. And like you said, once you've conquered whatever it is that you wanted to do or what you thought you couldn't do, you can say, wow, this person really has my best interests at heart. They see things in me that I don't even see in myself. Right. So it makes you kind of square your shoulders back and say, okay, I'm ready for the next thing. Right. And you also want to do that for that person as well.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. I know for me personally, my husband, he's a very free-spirited person. And not that I'm not free-spirited. However, I'm such a planner. So our vacations in the early years were like, okay, so we're going to do this, and this on this day. Tuesday, we're going to do this.
She's one of those that had a clipboard.
I had everything planned out. And my husband's like, can we just relax? It's vacation. I don't have to plan nothing. I get up when I get up. Yeah. So the tours can't be first thing in the morning. Right. And that sort of thing. And so it took me a while to get there. But again, he was challenging me. So every time I'm getting excited about vacation, and he wasn't. Well, why are you not excited about taking a vacation? It's like,
because you got it planned to a T.
Right. I got it planned.
Right.
So he taught me how to relax.
Right.
And just enjoy the moment. So, it was a little bit of kind of creating a balance. So some days I might do a tour, but of course it's not going to be first thing in the morning. Right. But there may be a day where we just don't do anything. I don't plan anything. Yeah. I just relax. I go with the flow. We just see whatever we want to do when we do it. And if we don't, we don't. Right. And so it was one of those things that he actually taught me kind of how to take that step back and just relax. Just go with the flow. Right. Stop planning.
Right. But you were open. You were open to it.
Ask him how long it took him. You got to ask him how long it took me to get open.
Right.
So,
Right.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
I mean, that's one of the things, though, is that challenge. And so again, it's not like that physical thing.
Right.
We're not talking about that. We're talking about how do you bring out the best, the best qualities in an individual.
That's
and
awesome.
you're teaching each other different things.
You really are. You really are.
So that's that challenging. So here's another one. So this one is a long challenging, but I think when things start to go, when they get really difficult.
Yeah.
And sometimes you begin to fight with that person or fight at that person, right? You're so intentional in trying to get them to change their ways.
Right.
Right?
Right.
You should.
You're fighting to be right.
Right. You're fighting to be right.
Yeah.
And sometimes couples get in this situation where they're not fighting for the relationship. Right. They're fighting against each other. And there's a huge difference.
Right. Right.
And I think that when couples realize that let's work on this together to make changes, positive changes in our relationship, then you can move to a common ground, right? You can move with some effort and some momentum to really get the relationship back on track.
Right.
But if I constantly am at you and telling you what you're not doing right, and then the first thing they're going to say, what? Well, you didn't.
You didn't. And I remember when.
And I remember when we start bringing up, we got some good memory when it comes to that.
Oh, yes.
Oh, we pulled up stuff from years ago.
It's in there, yeah.
So we've got to kind of step away from doing that and saying, what do we want to really change in our relationship? Right. And let's both identify what does that mean in terms of change of behavior for you and for me, right? So it's about looking at both ends of the spectrum.
And it's okay if you, and I get it, this is the hard part because I'm one that likes resolution. Let's just figure it out. But you also have to know your partner. You also have to know, are they the type that needs to walk away, process it, and then come back?
Right.
Because that's key. You can miss some valuable lessons if you just are this.
Right. If you keep going at it.
Yeah.
And I think I think sometimes we're afraid to give space because we don't know if the partner's going to return back. Right? True. Sometimes people go retreat and they retreat so long that you never really dealt with it. So it's trying to figure what's appropriate in terms of that space.
Right.
And working that through. Because sometimes that might be how you challenge someone. Right. Say, okay, I'll give you a day or two, but let's not go a whole week without resolving this or having more conversation about
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. And another thing is, you ready?
I'm ready.
All right.
I'm ready.
Can you be apart from your partner? Do you have enough confidence in yourself?
Right.
Do you have enough love for yourself that you can spend time by yourself?
Yeah. Yeah. It's key. I am never one of those people that believe in the expression, the old ball and chain. That means I'm dragging someone around with me.
That weight.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a weight.
And I believe that when you are not comfortable in your relationship, but when you are confident and secure in your relationship, he should have his downtime and you should also have your time. I'm a firm believer, if you're able to create that space even in your home, let him have his man cave and you have your little woman sanctuary.
Right.
And it's okay.
It's okay.
It's okay.
It's okay. I think we need to be able to define our own space.
Yes.
I think we also need to be able to define our own self-time. That time for us to kind of rebuild, recharge ourselves so that when we come back to the relationship or where we're back together, you're there, you're present, and you're in the moment and you can live in the moment.
Right.
And that's, so one of the things is, so my sons, your kids pay attention, right?
Right.
To mom and dad, how they interact and what they do. Yeah. So while they're dating, they're trying to kind of, sometimes they'll try to model what they see their parents doing.
Right.
So we have to be so careful. Anyway, we'll talk about that later. But one of the things that I think they picked up on is the fact that I'm able to have my own time. Their father is able to have his own time. Right. And then we have our quality time together. And they see that.
Love it.
So now when they're dating, they're trying to demonstrate and have the same thing. And, when you're young, you kind of want to just be staying. I want to be staying all up under you.
What are you doing today? What are you doing? Yeah.
Right.
Exactly.
And so I think sometimes they're trying to find partners that kind of are able to find their own space and to be okay by themselves and that sort of thing. There's some people that don't want to go to the movies by themselves. They don't want to go to restaurants by themselves. I am not one of those because I love to eat too much.
Okay.
So, but
nobody's available.
But everybody needs to kind of find their way to that place.
Right.
Maybe
right.
not going to the restaurant. You know, maybe
That's
I don't want to kind of say what you got to do. But
if you're single, do that.
But the most important thing is to be comfortable with yourself by yourself.
Right.
And I say this all the time. If you don't love yourself and don't want to spend time with yourself, how do you expect somebody else want to spend time with you?
Exactly.
You know, so it's about a lot of that confidence, that self-care, self-love, self-respect. All of those things come into play. Right. And honestly, you learn that as you mature. That is a growing.
I believe it.
That is a growing process.
Yeah, it doesn't happen overnight. I'm definitely an extrovert. I love socializing. I love being around people. But in the last couple of years, I have really, especially being single, I've really learned how to enjoy being by myself. I really did. And it's not a bad thing. Being by yourself is not a bad thing. It's not. I believe it's self-care, it's self-reflection, and then you can bring your best self
to a relationship.
Yes. You really can.
I agree.
And then that person also feels like, they can breathe.
Right.
So now it's not about being apart, like spending time where you see one and you never see the other person, but it is about finding that balance. What works for you?
That time to recharge, that time to rejuvenate yourself, that time to just, maybe you're dealing with something and your partner can't help, and so you really might need some of that time. So it serves so many multiple purposes, but I do think it's important. And I think when you can find a partner that can respect that, I think that's a strong indication.
Now, how has it been for you with the pandemic? How has that, you're really around each other a lot.
Right. Well, I mean, thankfully we have enough space where we are, where we can create, a little bit of separation, a little bit of that space. And so it hasn't been an issue for us.
That's great. That's great.
And I think that sometimes people in closer quarters or smaller spaces have a little bit more of a tough time. Right. But I can say this. Even if you're sitting on the couch together, you still can have your own independent time. You could be reading a book, or you could be doing some research, or working on a special project while your mate is doing something else. Right. And so you still can have that space and create that space, even if your physical quarters don't allow you to do so.
True.
Yeah.
Get creative.
So during the pandemic, we've been fortunate. We've learned how to give each other the space. We might be in separate rooms watching, separate shows, that kind of thing. He doesn't want to watch everything I want to watch anyway. So, and that's fine. So he'll watch what he wants to watch, and I get, to have my time. I might call a girlfriend or whatever. Yeah. So it's
awesome.
So we've been able to do that. So, and then I think you mentioned this before about being authentic, and I can't overemphasize the fact that you don't want to, you don't want to have like this kind of cover up of who you are.
No.
That does not work.
It doesn't.
If your partner, whoever you're dating, cannot get to know the real you and what you look like, and like for females, because we like to dress up with the makeup and the lashes and the hair, all of that. If we cannot show up in our natural state and still be loved, we need to still be loved in our natural state. And for the guy as well.
Same thing.
Right? Or whoever your partner is. Right. They still need to show up in their authentic, natural state and be okay.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I'm in agreement with that. I mean, I can only be who I am.
Right.
It's going to shine through. I can't pretend.
Well, some people do.
Yeah.
I mean, there's
and how
so
they're able
many
to do
people,
it for so long.
I don't know. People, kind of create these facades, and they have all this imagery of like who they think they should be, as opposed to being who they are.
Yeah.
And some people have a tougher time really coming to the table because they're not comfortable with who they really are. They're not comfortable with their natural state.
Right.
And I think one of the things that I think we've seen in sort of the society and the images and magazines and what we see on social media is this push for natural beauty. Yeah. For a natural state of being. I think the more and the closer we do that, and the more we promote it, I think the more we can show up in our authentic self.
Yes, yes.
And find love. And find love for who we are, and not end up getting entangled, with someone who is not meant to be with us. Right. And who we're not meant to be with. And that just creates so many issues.
Oh my goodness, that's
and so much drama that we don't even have to deal with. Right?
Yeah, absolutely.
A lot of drama we bring on ourselves, right? Because we end up showing somebody a different person,
right?
And they fall in love with that person.
Right.
And then after a while, when you start to take out
true
the
you
mask
shows up,
and the true you shows up, they're like, "Who the heck is this? Who are you?"
That's not who I met.
That's not who I've been dating all this time.
Yeah, where have you been hiding?
Right,
You know.
right.
Yeah.
So the discovery of your soulmate takes time.
Yeah.
And you have to start to kind of get past that phase of attraction.
Yeah.
You've got to start to be comfortable with being your authentic self.
Yeah.
You've got to find that right way of developing mutual respect, right, for one another, and expressing how you like to receive that, what indicates to you that they're respecting me.
Yes.
And you've got to also, without fail, you have to have a level of friendship.
You have to.
And then as you begin to kind of see those things and transition through the relationship, if you find yourself building this connectivity, right? Sometimes it's unexplainable how you move together, interact together, how you speak with each other. Right. And it's like mind, soul, body, and spirit, you are so connected that it's like, and people see it.
Yeah.
Other people will comment, wow, you guys are really made for each other. Those are the types of things that start to give you some indication that perhaps you've met your soulmate.
Well, I thank you for explaining it even on a deeper level. You know, me being single, I believe in love, and I believe that my soulmate is out there. So, it's just, it's great to have these tools to think about. So when he crosses my path, it's like, okay, now
it'll start
go back
to make
in my
sense.
mind. Okay,
exactly.
Here are those things that we talked about, So thank you.
Absolutely.
I love it.
Absolutely. So I hope that we all will kind of continue to think about these things, particularly if you're in the dating pool and you're looking to find someone. I think that be comfortable with who you are. Yeah. Keep working on yourself while you're waiting.
That's it.
Don't wait to find that person to start to kind of sharpen up who you are. Stay active, stay present, keep working on yourself, and don't stop living while you're waiting.
Live.
Find out how to keep living your best life.
Yes.
Well, thank you so much for joining us today. We're so glad you were a part of this. Feel free to put your comments and share some of your thoughts. Any questions that you may have, drop them in the comment box. Also, you can send an email to me at carladtillery@gmail.com. We would love to hear from you. So stay tuned, stay connected, and thank you for another episode of The Chair Chronicles.